Welcome to In the Frame. During your visit you may be met with explicit language and references, and spoilers throughout. You have been warned.
Hi, and thank you for once again tuning in to In the Frame. We are the opinion nobody asked for. This week we're talking about Doghouse, and joining me is the usual Sam, Will and Rodeo. I'm Dan, I'll be your host for this week. So Sam, would you like to give us a quick synopsis of what Doghouse is about?
Yeah, it's just the worst version of Shaun of the Dead. Similar plot points. Yeah.
Okay, Will, would you like to give us a quick synopsis of what Doghouse is about?
Yeah, certainly, Dan. Doghouse is about a couple lads going on a trip together to this place, which is in the middle of nowhere. It's a British comedy horror. So they get to this town and realise that there's no one there, and eventually they do find people, but it seems that it's only women, and they've all turned into weird zombie people. Everything goes downhill from there.
That sums it up pretty well. How did you sum it up the other day when you told us?
Mick from EastEnders and Mickey from Doctor Who just dicking around in a village. Just happens to be a few zombies that happen to be female, which, you know, suits the Danny Dyer aesthetic.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, so what was everyone's first impressions on this one?
First impressions.
I'm guessing it was mixed from the looks around the room.
I think we should go with Sam first.
Yeah, let's start with a low point.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun, but it was a lot of jokes I'd heard before, seen done better many times. There was like way too many characters that they tried to force on you in the first like 5 minutes that I just didn't care for. Didn't care what happened to them. I didn't find a lot of the jokes funny. Just the general plot like just kind of dropped halfway through the film and it just dragged for a while. It's just a bit disappointing, really. I was quite looking forward to watching it.
Oh.
I think there's better British comedies out there.
Cool.
All right, Sam, go way outside for a bit.
I'll agree with you on some parts, but I mean, the film's only like an hour and 28 minutes, so it's not.
Yeah,
like
and the
that
fact that
long.
it dragged.
Yeah, I didn't think it dragged. I thought it was entertaining. I mean, some of the jokes were a bit hit and miss. I wasn't laughing out loud or anything, but sometimes I chuckled and I was like, "Oh, lol." I mean, I liked the characters. I thought got on well with them, but some of them you didn't get to see enough of them. There's too many.
I think a couple of the characters are there just to be killed off, to be honest.
Yeah, but then I think that's the case in a lot of zombie films, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in terms of zombie comedies, there are a lot of them that are really shockingly shit. This one sat fairly high up, if you ask me, in terms of other zombie films. There's a lot of really great, serious zombie films, but I think most zombie comedies are pretty shocking. This one was alright, this one was watchable. I think it was kind of a different take because it wasn't everyone being a zombie. It was just the women in this town and the men had all fled. And it was interesting how they like played on the whole lad culture stereotype thing. It was cool that you were like laughing at how stupid they were. That was funny.
Yeah, they were kind of stupid, weren't they?
Yeah, but that's where the humour lay, I thought.
It was better than Cockneys versus Zombies. I'll give it that.
It's
I enjoyed that one as well.
And I'd say it's probably better than Dead Snow as well.
I haven't seen that one.
I've seen it, not for quite a while though.
I haven't
Isn't
seen
that
it.
a zombie? The
Nazi
Hitleroids.
Nazi zombies
Nazi
in
zombies.
snow, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I said
Hitleroids.
Hitleroids rather than Nazi. That didn't make sense.
I would never watch this movie again, gonna be honest.
Oh,
Yeah.
Shut down.
just gonna say that, yeah.
what did you hate so much about it though?
We start from the ground level. The script, the acting.
Hold on, what about the script in particular didn't you like?
There is a lot of moments where the acting comes into this as well, where there's these really awkward pauses that are just not funny, and then they say something that's so anticlimactic that it just doesn't live up to the joke that the script's trying to set up. That happened a few times. The characters just didn't. I know this isn't a character piece, but it relies too much on stereotypes, and even when it tries to play with them, it just ends up trying to kind of just coming off as half-assed sort of misogynistic piece, really. I think it thinks it's too clever a lot of the time. And then we get to the ending sequences with the government stuff, and I was just like, I was done by this point. There was points towards the end where I was like, this might be quite interesting how they sort of resolve it. But I just lost interest when they did the government conspiracy thing that's been done so many times before. They didn't go down that route with Shaun of the Dead. They didn't try too hard. I think they just tried to do too much with this film.
A little bit. It was more towards the end. They like had all the those cameras in the village.
Well, I cared. I actually cared for the
Yes.
characters in Shaun of the Dead.
I
never-
didn't have a problem with the acting in this one at all, really.
I thought
I mean-
it suited the film.
Yeah, I
didn't
mean,
think
Danny
it was
Dyer is
amazing.
Danny Dyer. I know loads of people seem to hate him. Personally, I don't really see why.
Well, I'll give you that. He was the best thing about the movie. Some of his lines were the funniest. His performance was the best. He was the character I was most interested in. You know, you look for treats. When you're not enjoying something, you look for the good bits.
It's nice to know Danny Dyer is a treat to you.
He is. Definitely.
Noel Clarke, I thought his acting was really good.
Those, I mean, for the
Yeah,
two
no
leads, I
And
think,
Stephen
yeah.
Graham as well.
You see, Stephen Graham is where the problem starts for me. I didn't think his performance was very strong.
I thought it was. I thought it was.
Yeah, I've never watched it and had a particular problem with it. I haven't kind of watched it and actually thought his acting shit. I haven't really thought it was amazing. I just didn't really notice it. What I don't get about his character was the lighter that he keeps losing and finding that seems to mean a lot to him, but I don't really know why.
Yeah, they didn't really
I've never
explain that, did they?
I've never quite understood the relevance of that.
Yeah, it was just sort of like a plot device, but then it didn't really go anywhere.
yeah, it wasn't really part of the
He
plot
just
of it.
used it on that water gun,
Yeah,
and then
but then it could have been any lighter.
I thought it was maybe gonna be like, it's my nan's, but or like something to do with his ex-wife. I
It's
don't know.
pretty deep. It's my nan's.
What did you guys think of the practical effects? I thought they were done pretty well.
I'll give it that, yeah.
Film.
I'd say the gore side of it was actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell it was done on a budget, but then it's
Mm.
kind of perfectly respectable. And I'm always much more of a fan of practical effects than,
Yeah, I
special
think they look
effects.
pretty
Totally
cool.
agree. I did. Well, that kind of goes with the bottle death, which was my favorite death in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
I love that scene.
Oh, when
with
Banksy
Banksy.
turns.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
just
he-
thought that was pretty creative.
So
I
he
quite
gets,
liked that.
gets stabbed with a bottle and then all of his blood bleeds out of the
bottleneck.
nozzle end.
Yeah.
I like how he just comes along and then he gets killed like straight away.
Yeah.
And, like plods along with his carling. It's just like, sup, lads?
Did you notice when. Who's the guy with the long hair? What was his name?
Oh, I know that the one listening to all the self-help.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
guys.
See, this is the issue. We don't actually remember their names.
Well, the guy with the long hair that's listening to the self-help tapes, when he's on the billboard, you got the zombie bride chopping at the billboard, knocking it down. Did you notice when you were watching it that he falls off and then the billboard crashes down right next to him, but the writing that's on this billboard says have your closest shave.
Yeah.
Didn't notice that, no.
There's a lot of hidden things like that within it, and I've seen it 5-6 times. Each time I sort of notice something new in the background or something that they say.
I was interested in what part of the brain remained for the zombies, because they clearly had more intellect than like Walking Dead zombies. Like they could fight each other and chop stuff down and cut fingers off in like creative ways instead of just mauling.
Then I suppose that's where the kind of weird biochemical experimentation thing comes in. Because if they just said, oh, it's a brain-destroying, zombifying virus, it would have probably been less selective.
Yeah, 'cause there's stages to it as well. At the end, they like
Yeah.
evolve, don't they? They
Like
mutate.
phase 2, they become
Yeah.
weirder and more aggressive and
How many
cleverer.
more phases are there? You know.
It would have been nice to see that come in a bit earlier on and have that be more of a thing that had more impact.
I wanted them to explain more of like why the guy says at the end, doesn't he? Like having half the population attack the other half or something like that, didn't he?
It's one of those things though, if you're going to keep
Isn't
it
it?
silly, you got to keep it silly. You can't
Yeah.
switch it up. I'm glad they didn't try to do a real serious moment, except for that bit in the bus at the end. Wow.
Oh, you mean the emotional speech
Yeah.
from Stephen Graham's character?
Yeah, that's another one of the reasons why I didn't think his acting was that.
It's midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think his acting was the issue with that. I thought it was more just...
He wasn't given a lot to work with.
Yeah, I think with that, because it was a comedy and we're not really that attached to the characters because it's more slapstick and it's more funny than relatable in terms of the characters. You kind of don't really care about his emotions. Or I didn't. Maybe I'm just a cold, heartless bitch. I don't know.
No, I don't think you do, and I think that's how the script was written.
Yeah, I mean, I
Really?
think that's fine because it's funny. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's just, it made that monologue a little bit out of place.
It was
I
kind of-
I liked it where he turned around and had a go at Danny Dyer and sort of looked at him and said, "You're a twat," and then looked at Noel Clarke and said, "You're a twat as well." So what about like the soundtrack or
That you see,
Yeah.
that was my favourite thing about this movie. Loved the soundtrack.
the soundtrack is good.
Yeah, it's really good. It was my favourite thing. I was constantly enjoying it whenever they was playing songs.
I can't remember it.
Yeah.
Well,
You know.
I'll say that for you, Dan. Usually, when you pick a film, the soundtrack's pretty good. I'll give you that. My main issue with the structure of the film is how formulaic it became. halfway through, which is where I think the pacing dropped off, which is kind of like, it did actually feel like Series 4 of The Walking Dead, where they split everybody up. We're literally just going around each character and then going back around each character and then back around each character until they eventually all got back together. Like, I feel like they should have kept them together like they did in Shaun of the Dead, you know, and had more banter and more dialogue and stuff like that. Instead, it would just, like, it was Danny Dyer getting his fingers cut off. It was the guy falling off the billboard. There was Matt in the toy shop. If they could have done that better, they could have spent more time and do each one in turn instead of just keep cutting between the two of them, because it just lost all of its pacing. Because it was building up quite nicely from when they got to the village. There was a lot happening. It wasn't really a downer moment. And then I just didn't like when it started cutting between everybody like it was a TV show.
See, I think that's probably where we differ, though, because I really like that the Series 4 of The Walking Dead, where they split them up.
Okay.
I like that for the fact that you get more character development when it's just them and you're just focusing on them interacting with different situations rather than as a group where they can kind of get lost in the background. So I thought earlier you said there were too many characters and you didn't pay attention to all of them. The fact that they were split up and you focused on each one individually kind of actually meant you could.
That's a fair point.
You could get a sense of who they were. I mean, obviously, character development isn't exactly a big point in this film, but I didn't feel like the pacing dropped off.
That's interesting, because I actually prefer like Series 2 of The Walking Dead, where it's very soapish, you know, it's very, very character heavy. There's a lot of dialogue, a lot of stuff going on the farm, whereas that was more my kind of style of The Walking Dead. I liked it when there was a lot of arguments, a lot of like, it's more about the people than it was about the zombies.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I will admit that when we watch this, I watch it for Danny Dyer's character.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's just so funny how stupid he is.
I like the fact that you're just laughing at how thick they all are, and you're laughing at their kind of lad culture kind of thing. Like they all have the match of the day tune as their ringtone.
Yeah.
Please, oh my god, that did my head in by the end of the movie.
Oh, fuck off. Yeah, I think it's supposed to do your head in though, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
you're supposed to think they're pricks.
Honestly, actually, the moment I laughed the most was when it rung and they all didn't know whose phone it was.
Yeah.
That was probably my favourite bit of the film, because I did like that joke.
Did you guys think that they seemed like they would all be friends sort of thing? Because to begin with, when they all get introduced and they all go to the pub, you know, I thought some of them wouldn't probably have been mates with them. Because like the comic book guy, I thought he probably wouldn't be friends with like Danny Dyer.
I don't think they were really the most obvious group of friends. They probably were a little bit unrealistic. I didn't quite get what they were trying to do with that either, actually. Because it was kind of, you had some really kind of hardcore misogynistic ones, and then obviously you were laughing at them being twats. But then you had others that were actually pretty cool dudes.
Yeah.
It did take them a while to kill off someone. Isn't the first major death of the group Matt when he gets killed by the Sycorax?
The Sycorax?
You know, the guy with the sword and his face looked like a Sycorax mask from Doctor Who.
Oh, right. You
Yeah,
mean the burning witch woman?
Yeah, that's a woman.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, they're
yeah.
all women,
I just thought
aren't
it was a Sycorax.
It's women that get infected.
Oh yeah,
with
of course it was. Yeah,
No,
you see, I
was,
forgot.
That was the woman who
Twat.
ran the burning witch shop, but then she
Oh,
got
yeah.
burnt, and so she looked fucked.
Oh yes, and we have that cheesy pan across to the burning witch, just in case you didn't get the
Yeah,
joke.
classic.
Yes, I remember now. Yeah.
But it's supposed to be cheesy. I mean, that's
Yes,
the whole
yeah.
point of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it works well with what it's trying to do. I think it accomplishes what it wants to do.
It's
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
not supposed to be a clever film. It's not supposed to be brilliantly scripted or anything like that. It's supposed to be fun and cheesy and stupid. That's what the film's purpose is.
I think it achieved that pretty well, to be honest. It's definitely fun, cheesy, and stupid.
What made you think it was better than Shaun of the Dead? That's my question. Because there's an obvious comparison here that I feel like you can't really avoid.
That's true. I did say it was better than Shaun of the Dead.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, he did.
Mainly because I laughed during it more
What?
than Shaun of the Dead. Like Shaun of the Dead, it's obviously a great film. There's a few funny moments and stuff, and I really love it. But I laughed more at Doghouse. Whenever I'm in the mood to watch that sort of thing, like a zombie comedy thing, I always go to Doghouse because I feel Shaun of the Dead drags a little bit in the middle. And that's
fair.
what kind of puts me off.
I must admit, I've kind of felt the same about Shaun of the Dead before. It might just be because I've watched it far too many times, because I love it. But I've kind of felt like it dragged in the middle in the past. I wouldn't necessarily think that Doghouse is better. It depends what mood I'm in, really.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think Shaun of the Dead's way better. Sorry, Dan.
I have to agree with Will on this. Yeah,
There's no...
I think
No
if you
competition
want a British comedy to show the rest of the
Yeah.
world, it's Shaun of the Dead.
I think Shaun of the Dead's a lot more charming.
Yeah, and it has real sharp script and real sharp editing. The clever editing style is one of the things that makes that trilogy. Because I don't know if Shaun of the Dead would be as good if it didn't have that editing style.
That's true. Like signature Edgar Wright.
Yeah, which I love.
I mean, a lot of people have called Doghouse really sexist, What are your thoughts on that?
I think the washing powder joke was a bit step too far. I think Danny Dyer's character is misogynistic on purpose, and I think the script does know that. So I don't find that offensive, and I kind of like the way they do it at the end, where the whole reason that he's so sexist is why he's the main character and why it's women that get the revenge back him, that kind of thing. So I like that side of it.
The washing powder thing, I've seen a couple of critics pick that up, and they're saying that joke is sexist. I've also seen a couple of other critics argue that point and say that's nothing to do with women. That's to do with this is a product that goes into every house. That's simply all it is. Every house has washing powder.
Yeah.
They might not all have, I don't know, bread or fucking tea bags or coffee or sugar or anything, but they all have washing powder. They all wash their clothes.
That's true. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, because the point is it has to get to every household. They're not specifically targeting women because it doesn't matter if the men get it because they're not affected. So as long as it gets into every household and every single person in that household uses it, they're sorted.
I also loved that women ran the village apart from the pub. There was a woman in every job in that village, except there was a male landlord.
But I think the obvious one to ask would be Rodeo.
Hello.
Do you find it offensive?
No, because you're laughing at their opinions. You're laughing at the fact that they're actually that thick and that small-minded. Women aren't the butt of the joke in that, and neither are men, really. It's just the kind of lads that are. And to be honest, they deserve to be the butt of a joke because they're fucking idiots. So, no, it's not offensive. I mean, they're using gender stereotypes as a comedy construct, and no, I'm not going to be offended by that.
That could be a question for the audience.
That's a good point.
Interesting, yeah.
In the
If you were
comments
offended by it, please let us know.
And we'll say sorry to you. No, we won't.
No, we won't.
Stupid factor.
Oh, well, I gave it a 3 out of 5 because it got pretty stupid. But if it was gonna go the full hog, I feel like it could have gone even further.
Oh, you mean stupid in like that means it's shit, or stupid as in
No, it just means it's silly. Like,
Oh, well then yeah, it's like a 4 out of 5, I'd say,
there you go.
because it's pretty silly, but not that silly.
Yeah, I mean, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. So yeah, it's stupid. But then I've also been forced to watch Freddy Got Fingered. It was fucking shit. But I mean, that's my basis for comparison because that's 5 on the stupidness rating. And that's fucking far too much.
I got
So
like 20
3
minutes into that film, I was like, I can't watch this anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I mean, 3 as a stupidity level is comfortable. I'm happy with that.
I would give it a 4. I really enjoyed sort of laughing at Danny Dyer's character, and I've known people like that, and we see people like that in the street and stuff, and it's always fun laughing at them.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's far more fun laughing at them than getting offended by them.
Okay, so overall rating.
Overall rating.
Solid 3 out of 10.
Oh, that's low.
There's a couple of funny moments. Could be a lot worse than it is, but it's not a film that I recommend. So it's a 3.
I'll give it a 6. It's got good practical effects, which I really enjoyed. There's, like you said, there's a few good funny jokes in there, and I mean, the whole film as a complete structure is pretty entertaining, I'd say. But yeah, overall, I think it's pretty entertaining. Not like amazing, but easy watch.
Yeah, I think I'd give it a 6 as well. I think it's watchable. I find it funny. I'm not always in the mood for it, and I don't want to watch it too much, but when I do watch it, I enjoy it. It's good fun.
I'm going to give it overall rating of 7, I think. It was funny, it was entertaining. Stop shaking your friggin' head. It was funny, it was entertaining, and I can watch it multiple times and still find it funny and still find new things, new little jokes that I didn't see before. So that's why it gets a 7 for me. So overall, including Sam's result,
Bringing it down.
yeah, that gives us an average rating of 6 out of 10. So
Nice one.
not the strongest film we've ever seen. That's got to be worth a watch, though. It's a chilled out film. It's a good alternative to like Love Actually or something.
You cannot compare this film to Love Actually. My God.
Okay, so thanks for listening once again to me, Sam, Will, and Rodeo. We will be back next week with another film. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell because we're releasing new episodes every single Friday.
Aren't you forgetting something, Dan?
Yeah.
What?
What impression are you going to enlighten our minds with this week?
I've never done this voice before, but I'll give it a go. This one I'm going to dedicate to Sam. You monkey's arse ring.
Thanks, Dan.
That is my favourite line in the film.
Goodbye.